I'm Cedra Mayfield, and this is Legal Speak, where we break down what's happening in the legal industry. We are recording live at the Women Influence and Power in Law Conference taking place in D.C. And joining us now is Amy Hanan, a former ALMer who held the reins as VP of Strategies, Communications, and Creative Services, but now joining us in her capacity as Chief Growth Officer at Limelight. Amy, welcome to Legal Speak.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, for our listeners who don't truly know you, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what you've been up to of late, and then kind of what you've been up to at Limelight.
Well, as you said, I am the Chief Growth Officer at Limelight, and in my role there, I help clients that are operating in all sorts of highly regulated industries transform their marketing strategies so they can accelerate growth within their company. And I do that through the delivery of fractional Chief Marketing Officer services. And that's because I bring about more than 20 years of marketing leadership expertise into my role now at Limelight, focusing on B2B marketing, primarily within legal, GRC, financial services, and technology-based companies, and really covering all marketing functions along the way. And you mentioned I'm a former ALMer and very proud to be. The ALM alumni network is strong.
It is strong, and you already kind of hit on what I was going to talk about because you are a marketing guru, arguably with 20 plus years of experience. So pull back the curtain on how you're now driving measurable growth and corporate value at Limelight. You hit on it, but if someone was listening and saying, hey, how can I leverage Limelight? What would you say?
Well, I have the absolute pleasure right now of working with clients that really vary greatly between legal outsourced services to legal technology companies to some large law firms as well. And they all have, a different point of view on what their top business priority may be. For me, on the marketing side, in thinking about how do I help them drive growth in their company, those strategies can be wildly different, right? And some people really want to focus on how do we get the best activation and return on investment out of our events and our events strategy. Some legal tech clients are just coming onto market now with a new product. Mm-hmm. How do we establish what the go-to-market strategy is? The value proposition that will be, the most compelling, the most winning against competitors in that particular category, and how do we start to drive lead generation that we know will then result in new business, new clients down the road. I have some clients that are wanting to totally reimagine their brand message and that value proposition positioning because they don't feel like they're winning enough against their key competitors anymore, that maybe they're getting lost in the broader market conversation or ignored at worst. So that, hey, how can you help us come in and revitalize that top level brand message and help carry that through all of our communications? So it's pretty wide reaching where I can come in or the rest of the Limelight team can come in and help these various companies within the legal space still position themselves for growth.
You know a lot about a lot. Like when you were going down the list, I'm like, gosh, and that too, and that too. Like, a lot about a lot. And obviously it's that insight that Whipple attendees want to hear firsthand, and you're actually helping out with that because you're taking part in a day one conference, or you took part actually in a day one conference entitled From Metrics to Influence, Leveraging Data to Measure Success and Strengthen Your Legal Department's Organizational Impact. So give us a quick synopsis. What were some of the highlights of that discussion?
Yes, I thought the panel was great. I'm so grateful to be positioned alongside some of the other experts on the panel with me. And I have to give a shout out to Jessica Smiley, who was our moderator from Bloomberg Law. I thought she did a great job making sure that the conversation was running as smoothly as it did during our prep session. But it was really, the conversation was about how do you take what in-house legal teams primarily, in-house legal teams are doing on a day-to-day basis and demonstrate to your executive management team, to your board, that what you do day in, day out is impacting the business. And by impacting the business, we mean is driving revenue, is helping with retention, is helping with growth within the company, or is helping with customer lifetime value. Those business outcome metrics that the rest of the business leaders care about most. And we heard great stories from my other panelists. I felt like a little bit of the odd person out because I don't have a JD.
You're not alone.
I haven't ever worked in an in-house legal capacity. So I called that out at the beginning when Jessica asked me a couple of questions. Said, hey, how many people in the room here right now? And it was a packed room. It was a fantastic crowd that we had. How many people in the room are wondering why a marketer is sitting on this panel right now? And I saw people like nodding their heads. I'm like, it's okay. You can doubt why I'm here, but it's because marketing has gone through the same exact journey. Legal teams are more often than not looked at as a cost center and not a value creation center within their organizations. And they're lacking the reporting and the metrics and the linkage to the financial data that shows the impact that they have. Marketing went through that same thing. Marketing had a huge credibility and authority issue if you think back 10, 15 years ago in being able to link activities that we were doing on a day-to-day basis, email campaigns, website visits, the beginnings of social media, content posts. How do all of those individual activities demonstrate value back to the company? And I think through the course of our conversation, there was a lot more like head nods out in the audience for our session. But it was fun to be able to draw those connections for everybody and to give a couple of examples of how they could link a particular metric within the legal team to broader business impact.
And I was going to ask that because you said to be business outcome focused, essentially, when looking at these metrics and things to relay. Can you think of some examples? I'm an example girl, right? A lot of this stuff just sounds big picture general until I hit like a real example.
Yes, and I love talking about contract execution with legal teams. Sitting in marketing, I work very, very closely with the sales team. And what do I hear from sales teams all the time? Well, the contract is stuck with legal. The contract is stuck with legal. We can't get the deal done because legal hasn't responded to whatever the red lines are for this particular contract. Great. So if you're the leader within the legal team, the outcome you're trying to track against is revenue acceleration. I want to show how we are accelerating the deal close to cash cycle. Right? If you can move through contract execution faster, then you can also start to recognize that revenue sooner. So if you determine a couple of tactics that you're going to use to influence that metric, maybe you have some pre-approved fallback terms that the commercial team can use, like fallback terms related to T4Cs or auto renewal, what have you. Or maybe you want to roll out playbook or a couple of templates that the commercial team can use. Once you've determined what your tactics are, then you can measure what happens before the process was implemented and after the process was implemented. Hopefully, you're able to demonstrate that the deal cycle to cash has been shortened because of the great things that you rolled out to the commercial team. And you can't ignore those usage metrics, right? Those core activity metrics. You need to know that those fallback terms were being used or the playbooks were being used to justify the improvement in the outcome afterwards, but then getting more sophisticated over time by saying, or being able to say through the data, hey, contracts that closed using our fallback terms closed 30% faster, that contracts that didn't, and on top of it, it was contracts that looked like this for this particular sector or from this particular commercial team. You can really start to drill down to help the business see where this particular tactic is working best, and then maybe how to scale it out to other areas within the company.
Valuable insights. Got it. Okay. So then let me ask you this. Was there anything you learned or anything that you kind of got reminded of while you were sitting on the panel?
What I got reminded of was maybe how siloed legal leaders or legal teams are within their companies. Again, towards the end of the discussion, Jessica had posed the question to the panel about what's one practical takeaway that you would give to everybody in the room.
Love it.
And my practical takeaway was for them to reach out to some of their other colleagues in other departments to help them on this journey of defining metrics, linking it to financial data. How do you report the story back up? And I had asked, hey, everybody in the room, when's the last time you chatted with your CMO or one of your marketing leads? Crickets. And in fact, I even saw a woman roll her eyes.
Oh, shoot.
And I said, I appreciate that. Also, your marketing colleagues have been on this journey already. They have developed all these attribution models, dashboards. They've had to learn how to speak the language of the rest of the business to position what they do as value, and they can help you. So just reach out. They can give you some tools and tips. Same thing, I asked, when's the last time anybody spoke to their FP&A person, their financial planning and analysis person in the finance team? These people are like financial model wizards. They love it. They are deep into Excel. You don't have to learn Excel. Go talk to your FP&A person. They would love to help you figure out what data you need to be able to best tell your story of value. And then the last thing I had said was, for all of the technology and tools and software everybody has, every department has probably at least 5, at least. When's the last time you spoke to the client success manager of that particular tool? Nobody had, no hand raises. And the definition, the reason for being for a client success manager is to make you successful as their client. So reaching out to them and saying, hey, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. Do you know how to solve it? Who else have you seen, like me, that have solved it successfully? Is there a template? Are there other clients that you can introduce me to? If you don't have a way to help me solve this today, is there something you can put onto your product roadmap that would make this easier for me in the future? Like, leverage these relationships, because that's literally what they are there for.
And there you have it. Collaboration is key. Amy, thank you for joining us here on Legal Speak.
Thank you for having me.
The name of the session Amy paneled is From Metrics to Influence, Leveraging Data to Measure Success and Strengthen Your Legal Department's Organizational Impact. And if you weren't able to attend Women Influence in Power and Law and see it live, you can find the session as a CLE program. Just go to law.com/CLE Center. Signing off from Whipple, taking place in DC, I'm Cedra Mayfield. This is Legal Speak.